Hello there, Outliers and Trailblazers. Niiamah Ashong here, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey. We're coming here today with an awesome roundtable conversation, and today we have Shaun Fury that is going to share more about how he's seeing the world, how he's creating things out in the world, and also like just telling this as epic of a story as possible in life. Shaun, I'm glad to have you here with us here, and thank you for just being who you are. Like every time we talk, I get a lot from it. So. I'm excited to be able to share that with Outliers here today.
I appreciate the invitation, and I'm always excited to work with you. You really offer a lot of value in your perspective and your wisdom and your thought out approach to this whole method. So I really appreciate you.
Well, Sean, that the feeling is mutual. Like, let's get Outliers out here a chance to get to know you a bit here, right? So,
Absolutely.
would you mind sharing more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Absolutely. So I am Shaun Fury, and the game that I'm playing is essentially I'm modeling my trajectory off of Arnold Schwarzenegger. In the same way that he popularized himself and his brand as the greatest bodybuilder of all time, and then segued into Hollywood and became a movie star, and then transferred over there into politics and became governor of California. I want to tell a very similar story, only for my trajectory, it's the greatest natural bodybuilder of all time, and promoting health and wellness and what that truly means in relation to the fitness industry, and how we should put a greater emphasis on really achieving your natural peak and your natural potential without the use of performance enhancing drugs. And then from there, transitioning into Hollywood, very similar to Arnold Schwarzenegger, telling the same story only in a film and television format before finally transitioning into politics and telling the story of achieving world peace.
Mm. All right,
That's
Sean.
the
So
game.
I see. I I love it. I love it. You're like I have the various levels of it, and like you're like what I hear from you is like at the core of it, you're telling the same story over and over again, but with higher and higher stakes, higher like more and more people involved, and that like
Yes.
it just keeps going.
And it's the same strategy in every industry. First, it's fitness industry, then it's entertainment industry, and then it's politics. But it's the same exact strategy.
Yeah, and what would you say the strategy is for any outlier that's listening in?
So when a person asks me, because I was asked this a couple weeks ago, it's like, okay, so you believe that you can actually achieve world peace. How are you going to do it? And I said the secret to world peace is K-Fabe. It's Kayfabe. And for those who don't know what Kayfabe is, it's layered reality. So my interpretation is giving an audience a person and an idea that they can believe in, something that they can commit to. Once they attach themselves to the story and the narrative, now they have to see it through, just like the individual who's telling the story. I believe in self-fulfilling prophecies. So if I say I'm the greatest natural bodybuilder of all time, and I am going to be a movie star, and I'm going to achieve world peace, I have to see that mission come through. And as audiences continue to buy in, as the stakes get larger and the exposure continues to expand, the more people buy in, the more people start believing it, and the closer we get to actually achieving it.
So, Sean, one of the reasons I enjoy talking to you, and I'm so glad that we get like some one-on-one time in this conversation here, is that you understand story, right? Like I would almost say like underneath everything we do, like at your core is we're just like leveraging story, right?
100%.
Yeah, and I hear like the way that you think about things is through story. Like it's I don't know. I feel like if I was baking a cake with you, it would be the story of the cake. You get what I'm
Well
saying?
said.
Yeah, yeah.
Well said.
And what I really appreciate about that is that I love how you said like it's the same strategy, right? And for me, I'm like, that's it. Like you've gotten very, very good at creating through story,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And what I get from you also is that you get the nuances of story. And as a result of this, and we were talking about this beforehand, but it ends up being something where I'm like, oh, I can enter into your world and you can help me create new stories about myself. You can help me see what stories are there. You can help me create small like itty bitty shifts there, or we can
Hmm.
go on and takes on something epic and create that self-fulfilling prophecy as it goes along.
Agreed. And when it comes to story, I'm so glad that I discovered it, because I've always been attracted to stories. To me, stories have the potential to be the most profound depictions of life, and we are all experiencing life simultaneously. So my idea is to capture this shared experience of life at the grandest scale possible to be as inclusive of the entire population as I possibly can. Like that's my grand goal. I want to capture this experience of life within all 8 billion people and have us all reach the desired goal.
It's funny when you say this, it makes me, for some reason, I got a vision of um the Marvel's Avengers Endgame, and one of like the final scenes where it's like, hey, we've been watching these people through their own individual stories for the
Mm-hmm,
last 10 years or
mm-hmm,
more,
mm-hmm.
and now like we're bringing everything together. The
Yep.
stakes couldn't be
Yeah.
bigger, but it's like
Yeah.
we've been going on the journey all the way through, and I,
Yes.
I like I feel like you're on like the like you have like that kind of a game plan in mind.
Yeah, and as you were talking, this doesn't happen to me that often, but I just like I felt the hair in the back of my head stand up. Like that doesn't
Hmm.
happen often. So it's like I'm glad
Yep.
I'm glad you were able to do that for me. One thing I want to add, because I didn't fully define what kayfabe is, I pulled it from WWE, so like that was really the missing piece. I've had this idea for 10 years now, but I was looking for the angle to start with, and the greatest natural bodybuilder of all time was the angle, and the equation was bringing the concept of kayfabe taken from WWE and applying it to a superstar larger than life character within the fitness industry, and that was the launching off point. The thing is about kayfabe is it's all about selling the finish. It's all about selling the finish. So if for this first phase, the finish is greatest natural bodybuilder of all time, all content, all narrative is designed around driving to that finish. Once that's done, now what's the next thing that we're driving to? We want to sell the finish. That's how audiences buy in.
So you had me like looking at this. I'm like, all right, now once you brought in WWE, I was like, what is this here? So this is uh let's see here. Aha. So this element here is it's part of what I'm reading on it. So I'm just using whatever the AI overview comes up
Mhm.
on the screen, right? But it says
Super cool.
kayfabe is a term used in professional wrestling to describe the act of portraying stage events as real, right?
Mhm.
It's also the agreement between wrestlers and fans to pretend that the events, characters, and stories are genuine, right?
Mhm.
So as I'm saying this here, help help bring that help make the connection between that definition. And if that definition is not the truest way that you interpret it, or
Mhm.
update us on it. But let's
Yeah,
let's bring that in.
it's definitely workable. So if we were to just go off of the AI definition, which is like presenting staged stories as if they were real, we could even play off of that because for me, the world is a stage. So in the context of a WWE format, the stage consists of the wrestling ring and backstage when the camera's on them and they're doing their little promos about CM Punk. When I first got to WWE, you brought me in under your wing and you were a mentor, but that changed, CM Punk. That changed, and they're telling a story in that format and it's staged and like all of it's scripted and like we already know that the powers that be, Triple H at this point, he understands who's going to walk away with the belt, right? In the same way, we can apply that to any person's trajectory and any person's career or narrative. For me, again, it's like there is a an unscripted element to what it is that I'm doing because it's like, okay, if I want to be the greatest natural bodybuilder of all time, what actually has to occur? One person would say you have to win on stage. You have to compete against other natural bodybuilders and you have to beat them. Me personally, and this is where it comes into like what is stage and what is not. I don't even feel that you have to win on a stage in order to actually, suggest that you are the greatest of all time in anything because to be the greatest is a very subjective concept. Now, to be the best is a very different thing. That requires statistics, it requires data. But the thing is, when you think about the greatest of anything, we care more about the feeling that that emotes and less about the statistics and the data that proves it.
Okay. Now I gotta pause it. Not like I'm gonna talk to you here. Like Sean just introduced a really cool distinction, right? And the part of this here is like the distinction you brought in is the greatest versus the best, right? And what I love about it is like you're gonna find this with me, Sean. That like I like to look at nuance. I like to look at the distinction. Like we can both see and then make the choices that empower us the most, that help
Mhm,
us move forward the most. So part of what I love about this one here is that like you've given yourself space to be able to say like, hey, look, I get it. Like it, like you, like you might be saying how can you prove that you're the greatest? And you're like, oh, you're actually in the wrong context. That's prove you like the best is where we prove things. The
Mm-hmm.
greatest is
Subjective.
this comes down to the subjective. This is us saying, is it LeBron or is it Michael? Like
Yes.
it's like, can
Yes.
it really be proven? And I'm sure someone else is listening to this right now. They're like, but you forgot someone, right? Because it's like that
Mm-hmm.
person's the GOAT,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And to expand on that, one of my favorite real world influences, a lot of my influences are actually fictional, but one of my favorite real world influences is Bruce Lee. And who is Bruce Lee and how you define him? You define him as an icon. You don't even refer to him as the greatest of something, but you still consider him, you put him in the same echelon of other great individuals of all time. Bruce Lee, if you think of his face, you think of his message, you think of his impact on society, that's what we're aiming for. And you don't have to do anything beyond just being the best version of yourself in order to portray greatness.
All right, Outliers. So I hope you're hearing this, and for any of us out there that are, I think the thing for me, Outliers, as you're hearing this, is like I hope that you give yourself the permission to like own how great you are, right? Like because in this conversation, you've given me something, Sean. And if you don't, do you mind if I use this going forward?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
I will credit to you. But it's like in this conversation, we've now been able to get to a place where it's like, what if I'm not I think a lot of times we're asking, what if I'm not the best at this? And we tie our value and our self-worth and like whether or not other people are going to pay us for it or whether or not we can actually make the impact on the criteria of what I would say like is like the best trajectory. Like
Hmm.
what are the metrics? What are the stats? Like how can you empirically say that this is work here?
Right.
And you're like, there's another path, right? This is the path of epicness. This is the path of being an icon. This is the path of greatness, of like long-term impact. And that's playing into like knowing and being diligent and being intentional around the subjective path. And
Hmm.
that ultimately comes out to like a story of being the best of you that you could be.
Yes.
Let me
Yes.
check and make sure I'm not putting anything in your mouth.
Yeah, and that version has way more longevity than just being the best. And here's the distinction. Okay, we can like I like to use the analogy of like let's say like an arcade pinball machine, right? So you're at the pinball machine, there's only one high score. There's only one high score, and everyone else second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. If someone comes along and breaks that high score, now there's like I said, there's only one best at one time. Now there is an individual who plays the pinball game way cooler, way more exciting, way more impactful and compelling than the person who gets number one. And when the audience is watching this guy who's like striving to be number one, it doesn't matter if he actually breaks the record because he's doing it in a way that's compelling, that's captivating. That's the kind of idea that I want to suggest to the masses at large. There is only one best in whatever field, but to aspire to compete against that best and to tell a story, that's where that's the thing that lasts the test of time.
So I love this year here. And Outliers, like, I'm gonna stay like you're gonna find this with me. I'm gonna stay with Sean in like the story framework. Because this is how he moves through life, right? And so
Hmm.
like my goal, generally speaking, when I have someone on the podcast, is just, like I want to see how you see the world, you know,
Absolutely.
and then
Yeah.
like learn from it and see like various components of this year. Um, and my invitation to you, Outliers, is we're going to keep having the conversation around the story and continue to build from there. But I want you to think about like, what's the thing in your life that you have as much conviction about that Sean has, right?
Mm.
What's the thing like maybe for you, everything's just baking, like or like for me, it's all conversation, right? And it's just like and being able to be in and like as long as we're talking, we're good, you know?
Hmm.
Like find like what is that element for you that if you in a lot of ways like Sean, there's an element of you that's like also like becoming like one of the greatest storytellers of all time because you just like continue to like because of your commitment to it, you know?
That's the core goal.
Yeah,
That's the core goal.
yeah, I was like, wait a minute. As much as we talk about all these other things, like you talk about people who have told a really great story, you know.
Hmm.
And you brought up WWE earlier, like it made me think about The Rock, and I'm like his story keeps expanding, you
Yes.
know?
Yes.
Like back in the day we were talking about what he was cooking, and now we're like, can you hear what The Rock is singing, you know?
Yes. Yes.
And one of
Yes.
like these high grossing movies here yet
Yes.
again, you
Yes.
know? Or what he's selling through his businesses and things like that. His
Yes.
story keeps expanding.
I pay a lot of attention to The Rock's career and his trajectory. There was a time when he was the most electrifying man in sports and entertainment. And I definitely aim to surpass that
Yeah.
100%. I don't like where his career is currently.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely paying attention to how I can steer away. And I feel like he kind of became more attached to the material
Yeah.
and the acquisition of money and things of that nature. So in my head, once it's solidified, okay, most electrifying man in sports entertainment since The Rock. Once that's solidified, now it's like, okay, now that we've gotten here, how can we pivot and still continue to tell a compelling story once we actually have that title?
That's so fun. That's so fun for me. So I'm gonna like the material, not material where he's at right now. Like this is in the conversation about The Rock. So like the real thing is like how does Sean see things, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things I like that you put in there was like since The Rock, right? And so that like there was something in that element. I was like, oh, like you don't like like you were able to like exit the game of comparison, you
Oh yeah.
know, by
Hmm.
just being like, let's just say the Rock like he has his thing, you know, and like he did his thing at that time with what was available with what was happening.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
I can't actually be in that same position,
No.
but since
Yeah.
him, yeah, like I think
Yeah.
it's really clear.
Yeah. And same thing with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where it's he's so easy to use as a comparison. The most exciting thing to happen to bodybuilding since Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
I'm
So
giving credit to him. Yeah.
So like the let's talk a little bit here. You talked earlier right before we hit record. You talked about a word that has been interesting to me, which is epic, right?
Hmm.
And you know, I'll actually be kind of curious about your thoughts. I find right now I am probably in by my organization and my thoughts are like between two worlds, right? The concrete materialist, not materialistic, but like concrete external results kind of based world.
Hmm.
And then like the ethereal, intuitive world of like stepping into like your largest mission in life, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so like there's something about that really I'll be actually really curious about like how you would think through it. So I'm looking at my business, and
Hmm.
as time has gone on, I found that my messaging has become more and more what I'll say grounded.
Okay.
And the groundedness here, like might roll all the way down to like I can help you make 10K months and like like that's it. But at the end of the day, I don't care about the money. I care about the trailblazer like leading out in the world and
Yeah.
showing the world that there's a new way or there's a more of a way of doing things than just the
Right.
ways that we have been provided in the past. That's what I care about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm actually really curious for you. I think it'd just be like a really interesting conversation. You talked about like epicness, right? And being able to have like an epic story. And
Hmm.
I recognize that like I wanted to tell you in this part of the conversation about how like I take my clients and I like have a thing called it, what's your epic quest? But then I
Hmm.
realized that I'm like, oh, I'm actually not doing that because I'm actually not talking about quests nowadays, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
And so I think I'm really curious about one, just what epic and epic stories like mean for you. Like I want to start there. But
Hmm.
I will be honest, underneath all this, I'm like, I want to bring back in more of the what feels like creating my own world
Hmm.
through my business as opposed to uh being some variation of an agency or some variation
Hmm.
of like you get what I'm saying? Like I'm
Yeah.
like the world building aspect of this, like leading a movement, creating a world where like, hey, when you come in, this is how it is. That feels so awesome to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your take on this? I want to kind of build in with you on this one. I think it'd be a fun topic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'll start with the first segment and then I want to circle back to the second and get some more clarification. So the first segment is what attracts me to the epicness of a story. That was a question, right?
Yeah, I think let's get in for some distinction around epic for you. Like, so what makes something epic, you
Okay.
know?
Hmm.
And then like because you were very clear. You're like, I'm like, I don't want to just talk about stories. I want to have epic stories.
Yeah.
And so I want to know for you, like, what are some of the distinctions there? Because
Yes.
you think about that.
Yeah. All right. So my interpretation of an epic story, it's all about the scope. So I grew up on superheroes, like a lot of people in this day and age. And let's just take a look at Marvel. You've got Spider-Man, who is considered a street level hero, and friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. That's his whole slogan. He's living in New York and he's fighting. He's beating up the bad guys who are stealing purses and stuff like that. Then you have someone like Nick Fury, who is also considered a hero, and his whole thing is like saving the world. He assembles the Avengers and stops world threatening threats. I feel like there's another way of saying that, but yeah, he stops world threatening threats, and prevents those things from happening. He achieves saving the world, right? And then obviously Spider-Man gets roped in to certain missions, and he becomes a part of the Avengers. And to me, right there, all right, if Spider-Man is street level and Nick Fury is the one who's saving the world, and then Spider-Man, who's got his own story, very cool story. Spider-Man's got a great story, but now he's getting roped in to Nick Fury's story because there's something global that's occurring. There's like a global threat. So now that's what becomes epic, when you're taking multiple stories that are street level and then bringing them together to actually do something on a grander scale. So I guess to answer your question, it's about scale. So if the world is this big and we're here, I want to encompass everything.
So there's something behind me,
Oh yeah,
and I'm
Shield.
about
Yeah,
yeah, and that's and it's Nick Fury is my guy.
also
Um,
my brother.
yes, I
Yeah,
get that. I get
yeah.
that. The I remember having a conversation with someone in a mastermind I was in. I was like, I'm really building my business and I want to be like the Captain America for people, and I can't figure out by the end of this intensive, I want to figure out how to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember she just looked at me and she's like, and her head like cocked to the side. She's like, huh? I'm like, I'm like, oh, she's like, you're not Captain America, my man. You're Nick Fury.
Mm-hmm.
And that she's like Captain, like you assemble the Avengers, whether you have any superpowers or not is not
Mm-hmm.
at that, but like without you, the Avengers aren't avenging,
Mm-hmm.
they're
Mm-hmm.
just staying in their thing. And I
Yeah.
love how you said like his thoughts are just on what are world threatening stuff, you know. If it's like I don't care what's happening in your local area. I don't care
Yeah.
about he's like I don't care what's happening with your wife or your relationship. Like come and save the world
Yeah.
and then you go do
Yeah.
your thing.
Yeah, and I don't want to devalue the importance of individuals who are focused on a micro scale,
Yeah.
because they also help make the world run too. So I feel like everyone's got a purpose, and I relate a lot to your purpose in a lot of ways. It resonates. So if my focus is on the biggest macro possible, we're going global. I've always been global. Within that pursuit, I will get to work with people who are focused on the conflict in Asia and the hunger in Siberia, like things like that. And through that, then that's how we actually achieve the macro goal.
All right, cool. So now let's go because as we're talking about this here, a huge part of me wants to just keep talking about bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and
Hmm.
bigger,
Yeah.
right? But and to your point, um, there's the macro and the micro.
Hmm.
And if I'm also hearing is like the epicness is when it's actually the curation and the culmination of many micros. It's not one
Hmm.
macro, right?
Yeah.
And just that like because this is the thing about with me with Nick Fury, he doesn't have superpowers.
Hmm.
He's just a person, you
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
he's just a person and he just keeps organizing people to help make things happen.
Yep.
I think it's really cool, by the way. Yeah, there's an element of this where it's just like, hey, this is what he filters in. It's like if it's world threatening, I'm in. If it's not, like I really just like my take on him is like it's severely deprioritized, you know. And it's like but there's something in this I'm thinking right now. So Sean, this is gonna be fun. I play D&D locally with some
Okay.
family that's Dungeons and Dragons, and we're
Hmm.
picking up our second arc today
Nice.
later on today. So I'm in that mode. And my character right now is a character who I think is like a little bit like benefits from third person omniscience. He
Okay.
almost always makes the right choices. And
Love it.
but he's not. actually that's not actually what a character would do. And so
Right.
there's something that you just gave me here. It's a bit of an aside, but I think it speaks to like how I see world and such. But like I just got something where it's like Nick Fury might come off as like crass or like uncaring to people, and it's like if it's not world threatening,
Hmm.
everything is below the priority if
Yes.
it's not world threatening. It's like
Yeah.
okay, cool, we drove through your like your business.
Yeah.
Is it going to save the world? No. So
Yeah.
sorry, but I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
I have a bigger mission there. I love how that can like influence decisions
Hmm.
and influence like where people are coming from. And I'm just
Hmm.
going to put that into this space here. Part of me is like trying to twist this into something that outliers can get. Well, it might happen or not, but I'm just
Right.
like something just like sunk in for me in a very meaningful way.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like awesome.
It's weird because I have a very, very intelligent close friend. He's my roommate, and we have these conversations all the time. And sometimes it skews into like um to have the desire to achieve world peace. Where does it come from? Is it egocentric, or is it selfless? And why am I doing it in this way? Why am I so convinced that to I first have to become the greatest natural bodybuilder of all time, which sounds very self-serving if you really think about it, and then becoming a movie star, and then transitioning into politics? All of this sounds like it's power hungry. It really does when you really think about it. But I have convinced myself that this strategy and this story will bring me to the biggest network possible throughout the various industries that I step into, and will allow me to meet the right people to actually achieve a common goal. I believe that. And it's regardless as to what the motivation is, it's because the ends to me justify the means.
Right. So now outliers, there's a couple things here. I just want you to check in right now for yourself, outliers. Like, what are the stories that you're telling yourself? What are the things that you believe? What are the things where like the ends justify the means, but potentially not just working in your favor, right? I want you to like look at that there because there's times where I'll talk to people and they're like, well, this is just how it is. They tell me
Mhm.
about the story, and I'll literally say, I'm like, I hear the story you're telling me. I'm just not like it's just not a story I want to buy. These elements are true. There are certain things happen. How you choose to what you choose to do with those elements, that's up to you. And right now, the story that you're selling me is not one that like I'm not gonna go watch that movie.
Yes, and I'll give you the big one. I'll give you the big one. So I never work with this is just how things are. I never do that. I come from the perspective of Alexander the Great when he gets presented with the Gordian knot. No one has ever been able to untie this knot, and if you can, then you will be considered the conqueror of the world. And he looks at the knot and he takes a sword and he cuts it in half, right? My whole thing is, and I'll just give like the big reveal right now, and I'll also obviously be talking this on multiple platforms within the future. Is so when you think of Superman, you think of like within that format or within that universe, Superman is like the guy of the world. And a lot of people consider he's like the most powerful being within that universe, right? My idea is if what if just for fun, what if we were to consider that a human being in this universe is the most powerful being in our universe? What would that mean? What kind of power would they possess if they actually had that belief? How would they change their reality if they had that belief? That's the experiment that I am endeavoring to present to the world.
I hear you. And like what I get, something I think I get is like, so you're not flying, but you're able to kayfabe, you know? And that is a superpower. Like you're like, hey, look, I've decided, and so thus it will be reality. And I
Yes,
will keep moving in alignment with reality until
yes,
like more people also believe and buy into this reality.
yes.
Be
Until it gets to the point that we don't know if it's kayfabe anymore.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. I mean, if you really think about it, like this is now we're getting I'm gonna bring us down and be like, okay, so what
of
are you doing
course, of
about
course,
this?
of
But
course.
like,
Yeah.
I'm having fun in this conversation. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, this is what fun it feels like. I
yeah.
like this. Um, but if you think about it, like that's everything around us, right?
Hmm.
Everything
Preach,
around us is capable.
preach.
Yeah, there's no reason like we do things. Each society is this, right? We're like, this is how it's supposed to be, you know? okay, oh, I'm supposed to do this way. And like, and now all of a sudden that becomes real. And then this is why I love talking to outliers. There are people who are like, so I did something different, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, but you're not supposed, like you did something different and you didn't spontaneously combust. Somehow
Exactly.
you broke the rules of like, this is how it's supposed to be. But like, you're not just surviving, you're also thriving.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is why I have these conversations. This is why I like to meet people like you, Shaun, and support and to play in that way because at my core, I'm like my mission is to bring together a truly inclusive and empowered world. And
Yeah.
the way that I have convinced myself to do that, it has taken many different variations, but it generally goes down to like if I can make leaders who do things different more successful in their leadership and what they're able to accomplish through their leadership,
Mm-hmm.
then that will go out in the world and show more examples of what is possible. And that while each of those leaders are building other people up in their own respective like universes,
Mm-hmm.
the macro picture of seeing so many different people being able to create success on their terms in their way and
Mm-hmm.
not spontaneously combust will in and of itself shift the mindset, shift the core of thinking to say like to almost make it see like how am I going to be the exception, the one person on this entire planet that can't make what I want to like have happen come to life because there are
Yeah.
just too many examples. The
Yeah.
status quo is that people are out there creating for themselves. Like what like why like yeah, I haven't articulated this in this way, but I just want to reverse the I want to reverse it. Where it's like more people like the status quo is people are different. We're celebrating those differences. You also happen to be different, not because of anything other than the fact that you were born and literally there's only one of you, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so what do you get it from this, Shaun? I'm curious.
We have an identical vision,
Hmm.
an identical vision. That is truly my vision for the future. And just to further expand on that, my dream is to actually not even a dream. It's just the thing that I'm looking forward to. Is a TV show capturing that movement, the one that you're describing. I've always dreamed of a concept where in the format of a television show and a shared universe, very similar to the MCU in the same way that they have film and they have TV shows and they've got comic books and they've got graphic novels. In the same way, I want to present these individuals, the ones that you're describing, in a shared universe.
So what's coming to me here, like I want to ground the conversation, be like, so what are you
Of
doing right
course.
now? But I actually don't know if I need to, right? Because I feel like me grounding the conversation is me bringing it into the best world as opposed to staying in the world that you're in, which is like the greatest world, right?
Hmm.
And
Wow.
yeah, like there's components of this where like in grounding the conversation, we're like, well, what are your metrics? How are you going to know that this is
Right.
going to work? What are you doing right
Right.
now to do this? You're like,
Wow. That's deep, man. That's
yeah.
deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Once you gave me the distinction, it gave me new options.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because very like I'm so grateful for I have a very close friend that I live with that I already mentioned, and he's the best guy. Like he's like Spock, okay?
Mm.
And in the world of I think it's Vulcans, right?
Mhm.
The best is the only thing that matters because they are very logical, they're very rational, and they do not think with their emotions. They don't use feeling to make their decisions. This is not the world that we're living in. In this world, the majority of people make their decisions based on how they feel and less about how they think. So it is always the greatest is more important in this world than the best.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
but it's great to have a person who thinks like the best because then it's like you have someone to bounce off of, and then you can
yeah.
refine your strategy.
It's just I'm enjoying this conversation because it's like it almost goes back to the word since, right? It's like it's not either or. It's just it's this too can exist. And
Both
if you
and.
choose to go, yeah, if you choose to go this path, know that like this is it. There's a couple things going on for me right now. One of them was related to Marvel. Another one was related to career paths from my consultant days. So I'll
Mm,
bring up both.
mhm,
The first one with the Marvel one that comes up here is like I just really enjoy going back to Kayfabe, right? We because of Marvel's endeavors over the last 20 years, we now have a shorthand to describe micro leading up to macro, leading up to like we've been able to talk throughout this conversation very effortlessly about this. In
Hmm.
2007, if we want to do this before Iron Man 1 came out,
Hmm.
I think it came
Hmm.
out in 2008, maybe a little bit
Hmm.
earlier.
Hmm.
But like, let's say 2004, just to keep it
Yeah.
safe,
Yeah.
right? In 2004, if we wanted to have this conversation, it would be so much harder because so much of it here would be us being in like kayfabe world, like being like, wouldn't it be awesome if, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
As opposed to like now, it's like, look, like this has happened.
Yes.
Like it has been successfully executed. We
Yeah.
have seen that it is possible.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
there's something that's really in there around like we have seen that it is possible that that feels really good.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to like, obviously, I don't want to spin off too much, but it's
Keep
really
going.
great.
Just you're
It's
fine.
yeah. This is a great opportunity to just like because I understand that you understand what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
So for me, and you understand that like I'm a game changer. First,
Yep.
it's changing the scope of the fitness industry, and then it's changing the entertainment industry. What I'm most excited about the changes that I want to make within the entertainment industry is right now there's a heavy priority prioritize on actors, right? Once I get in there, my vision, and it's kind of already happening within content creation, is to take self-actualized individuals across multiple industries and give them the skill to perform the best versions of themselves. So in this idea or in this version or in this shared universe, these individuals will be playing themselves with a camera on, promoting their brand and promoting their purpose. So Shaun Fury plays himself in a film about Shaun Fury, and he's interacting with, Angela Houston, who's also playing herself, and it just becomes a very seamless world that's still got a very compelling narrative. It still looks like a comic book, but the real life individuals.
What's fun for me is um yeah, for me it's like a really fun take on creating the impossible, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And we like I can see how much of your world has been built, you know? And I think that like what I get from you is like it's not just a wouldn't it be cool if it's I know that I am taking actions in the current moment. This is what I am building. You may
Mm-hmm.
not know this. If I told you about Endgame and what was going to happen in like these, like you wouldn't get it because I'm not building. I have a 20-year arc that I need to introduce multiple characters, let you know what the stakes are, let you know like it is this, right?
Yeah.
And there will be a time where we just get it. Now you make me think about the Truman Show, right?
Great show.
Yeah,
Great movie.
like because in that world, it was not like that level of reality was totally like it was the norm, Like the thing about me that always gets me about the Truman Show is like they all these people thought it was ethical, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, like that part always gets me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, that was the world that they lived in,
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, we can do this, not a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and so I'm appreciative of your vision and Outliers. I want to talk to y'all here because one, I really recognize like just how so fulfilling this is. Like I'm like this is cool, being able to talk about vision and like my aunt said this to me right when I started working. She said I don't remember the context, but she used the words hold your vision, right? Looking for people who can hold your vision. And that to me is what this conversation ended up being. Each of us holding each other's vision and knowing
Mm-hmm.
that that is practical, knowing that like finally I can talk to someone who would get what I'm talking about, who isn't the person I've already been talking about or who isn't me.
Well said.
Like there's
Yeah.
something in there where it's like we're holding each other's visions of the future and we're helping each other see and craft and the the job of the visionary leader is not just to have the vision, it's to be able to transfer the vision and make that vision a reality. That is the
Hmm.
job of leadership. It is
Great.
all like reality creation,
Yes.
right? The job
Yes.
of the manager is to take what is already real and work with it. The job of the
Mm-hmm.
leader is to create new realities. And so
Man.
like as we're talking, like I realized like I was like, we got to make this more practical. We got to ground it in. And I think I'm like, oh, that's because I haven't been having the visionary, like this is the practical stuff for us visionary leaders.
Hmm.
Like we're taking action, but
Yes.
like, can you help me can you help me see this thing that like I know, I feel, I can see, but like, can you help me see it now in 3D? Can you help me
Yes.
like Chris, like, can you help me get a new
Yes.
perspective of this vision that I'm seeing? Because I'm
Yeah.
working towards it. I need to go through. Sean, what's your take on this? And we're gonna wrap up the conversation in
Yeah.
just a bit, but
I would say that actionable steps. Again, I'm going to give credit to my roommate. His name's Caleb. He's definitely a part of this whole narrative. To
Mhm.
me, he's like if I'm Alexander the Great, he's Aristotle. That's how I like to refer to him. So Caleb said to me, uh, "It is more important actionable steps than self belief. So you can believe in yourself all you want. I can have the greatest ideas in the world and believe that these ideas are going to come to fruition. In fact, I was thinking like that for 10 years. 10 years, I thought like that. This is all going to work out. I'm going to create this shared universe. I'm going to achieve world peace. I'm going to be the greatest of all time. It's going to be beautiful. There were no actionable steps until, let's say, year 2021. And that's when I actually started making progress. That's how I got from point A to point B, and we're still going to point Z. But within the 3 year time span, that's when things actually happened. Before that 3 year time span, right here, did not move. Even though I had all the self belief in the world, I never stopped believing in myself. But actionable steps are vital, more vital than self belief.
So this is like I think it's a cool place for us to wrap up here because one of the things that's coming for me is like taking action for me now has become like it's like table stakes. When I work with clients, I'm like, we work on three things: we implement, we iterate, we integrate, right? But I'm a big guy on like being, like who you're
Mhm.
being. Like I'm huge on like your identity, all this stuff here. But I'm like, I then this conversation helped me realize, like, I mean, it's like if the action isn't being taken, then we can't. Then we don't have room. We're there's nothing being created. We're not actually
Yeah.
doing the work. It isn't practical then. But like when you're in action, when you are taking action, I keep saying inaction, but it sounds like inaction. But when you are taking action, you know, having the conversations to be like, hey, am I like it's basically like a GPS. It's like this is where I said I wanted a direction. I've been driving in the car. My car's rerouted a couple different times. I had it like there was a lot of detours.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to
Yeah.
be here,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Can we come back and make sure that I'm actually heading toward the path?
Yeah.
But I'm still my car is still like the keys are still in the ignition. I'm still driving. I've gotten to some place that I wasn't before.
Hmm.
All right, Sean. So we are going to leave this incredibly actionable and well, yeah, I don't know. The actions are being taken, right? But we're
Hmm.
going to leave this incredibly concrete and grounded conversation. And thank you for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The way that we're going to end it here is I'm going to make an ask first about outliers. Outliers. Whoa, what a conversation. Can you do me a favor and like, can you share this out with the people in your world? We don't do any ads on this. It only spreads through word of mouth. So if you can take the time to share this conversation between two visionary leaders, like jamming on what we're creating and how we're doing it, that would be awesome. And my underneath that, I have a one other ask, which is the one person, one conversation at a time initiative that we have, where I would love, love, love for you to find one person in your world who is the main character of their story and to share this conversation with them as a gift to them. Like somebody you think would really benefit from this conversation, please go and share this conversation with them. I think this is where the real impact of all this stuff happens, where it's like one person reaching out to another and just letting them know that they're being seen, celebrated, and valued for who they are. And that's represented by you sharing the gift of this conversation.
Agreed.
All right. So Sean, we're gonna end here. What I want to do is I want to thank you. So thank you.
Thank
Would
you.
you mind sharing with Outliers the best way for them to continue the conversation with you? So like I like to look it's like what's your best contact info and the
Yeah,
best way for them to forward?
absolutely. Best way to reach me is, I would say, through the Instagram platform.
Okay.
You can reach me at Shaun Fury. That's Shaun Fury, like Fists of Fury, or I
Nick
feel like
Fury,
it's
we're in it. We
yeah,
got it.
yeah,
Yeah, we're
yeah,
good.
exactly.
Yeah. All right, awesome. And then like outliers are taken care of. Like we just had a conversation here. What share with us an insight that you got for yourself? What's something that you want to be continuing to explore?
That there are other individuals with my vision for the future, and it just makes me so excited to meet all of us. And I see a location where we actually are all under the same, roof, hanging out, and I see thousands of us, and we're all just like, man, we did it, we made it.
L- let's make that happen. Like I'm doing my thing with the Outliers Edge Guild right now. Like we're continuing to create it. Yeah, you're not alone, my man.
Oh yeah,
You're
I'm
not
following in
alone.
your footsteps
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, we got this, and I you, which is the fun part, right?
Absolutely,
All
absolutely.
right, Outliers. We're gonna end this conversation here. Remember this until the next time we talk. Go out, go forth, and be you on purpose. Journey on.
Well said.